Yeah, it seems, the spirit of modern is you do your thing, I do my thing. We don't cross paths at all. I don't know, interacting. Rude.
Yeah, the Perfect deck has a fair bit of interaction, which makes it a little. Wow, Seth Mulligan that hand? Hmm. I'm team never Mulligan, but that's probably incorrect.
Yeah, I'd say I'm on team begrudgingly mulligan, where it's like I know I have to mulligan, but I have to like I'm gonna sit there a little bit and just, you know, be sad.
Yeah, seems reasonable. I like Urza Saga a lot against this deck. I mean, I guess they do have a way to turn into an island, kind of just praying that they don't hit it. But it's like one of the ways you can get past all their counter magic.
Yeah, and I think Shadow Spear seems like a really important card. Like if you can't stop Island Walk from happening, you need some way to either punch through or offset it.
Yeah. He has a turn Frogmite here. It's probably worth it. I mean, Frogmite is like the best synthesizer card because it's almost guaranteed 0 mana when you have synthesizer, but obviously there's no synthesizer in hand, so
Yeah,
that's
and
a
there's
good
no
hand.
no third land, no synthesizer, so I like putting it out there.
Mhm. Pretty straightforward linear hands from both players, not a lot of interaction, just try and dump my hand on the board, see what happens.
Yeah, I kind of think that this Urza Saga might be enough if it's just both players playing ever growing series of things. The Saga might swing it. Guess we'll
Yeah,
see.
for sure. Does have what is it, Tide Shaper, the one that turns into an island, like the big blowout card for Saga, but it's not in his hand right now.
Right. Yeah, I think yeah, that's gonna be the big blowout one. The deckhand, not so much.
Oh, he's not playing the Saga here? Really? I feel like you'd wanna get it down so you can start making contracts the next turn.
Yeah, I would love to get it down, and also the longer you wait on it, it's more time for Nikachu to find that Tide Shaper. Well,
Mhm. The 1 mana off from Sojourner's Companion doesn't really. Oh, wow. Maybe
wow,
Saffron's a psychic can foresee the Tide Shaper on top of his deck.
yeah,
Pretty crazy. I don't know if he wants to sandbag it for 1 turn. I mean, just play another Lord.
yeah. It's interesting. I mean, knowing the context that Saffron has Saga, I mean, I would obviously you would want to sandbag it, but without that context, is that the right play? Not sure.
Well, he also
It
just drew 2 new cards off Thought Monitor, so one of those 2 new cards could also be a Saga, which makes you might wanna sandbag it more.
also a very good point, and I think getting out the Lord here makes a lot of sense as well to set up, like, I don't know, maybe a really nice next turn.
Yeah, and
So
just make a huge push. Just build a huge board and then huge push. You can also just play Thundering Falls and double spell next turn, push
yep.
10 damage, and then even if Saffron does have Synthesizer, it shouldn't really matter too much.
I think the Hex Catcher, I'm not sure, does that is
Oh,
that
yeah, yeah, it gives your Merfolk stat counter unless they do 1.
yeah,
Not
that seems
good.
really strong if you're worried about one of the many 3 mana plays as well.
Hmm. Yeah, it looks like he's just going for the straightforward play, which I like. And he wants to tap land. Yeah, I was gonna say you probably would sequence the tap land first, get more information, unless you wanna upkeep tap, keep a moss synthesizer just in case.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. And it is going to get rewarded for not playing the Tide Shaper,
Mhm.
and possibly a little bit of a punishment for not playing the Saga earlier. Although I guess it would have changed the entire course of the game had that happened.
Yeah, that's kind of problem with Affinity is it's like when you're on the synthesizer and play, the Affinity creatures just don't really pack that big of a punch. There's no like Master of Ethereum or any board buff to really reward you.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if to have access to just to some of that kind of card. It is a little like it doesn't have the synergy with the synthesizer, but like even something like a plating here would be like huge.
Mhm. That's why I, like, really like Metal Cyst. When I was, like, brewing some decks, I was trying out, like, blue-white versions with Stoneforge because you could go Stoneforge, get Battered Skulls, and Synthesizer put in Battered Skull, just like playing more of a grindy game, and then Portable Hole is also an artifact. I don't know, there might be something there, but I never played it that much, just sort of weird ideas floating around my head.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, that I like that idea. You can like because it is just when it comes into play, you get to draw that card, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, you could put in Cauldron Complete and draw a card with Stoneforge or Batter Skull or
Yeah. My issue with
any.
building a deck was it was just too many cards, because if you play Stoneforge, you also I was wanting to play, Sword of the Meek, then you can run Thopter combo, and then you're like, "Oh, I kinda wanna fit in Urza. Oh, I'm playing a bunch of 4 mana cards. I might as well play Talisman of Progress and the One Ring," and I'm like, "This is a 90 card deck. I can't I need to pick a direction."
Oh wow, went for okay. That's interesting actually. Wouldn't have been on my radar, but does not turn the Saga into the island, which maintains Island Walk.
Yeah, I was trying to end the game ASAP, I guess.
I think it's probably going to work.
I think so as well. I mean, he's at 11, facing on lethal. Ottawa has already been played. I don't think there's anything in that deck that can actually remove an Island Walker or a Lord.
I don't think so.
Because
Yeah,
I think his only hope here is to draw a Shadow Spear, try and gain life, survive one more turn. But yeah,
yeah. This looks like lethal, and if somehow it's not, there's another Lord in hand because the Merfolk away.
yeah, this is kind of why I wanted to play the Wandering in this deck. It's just there's so many different ways you can build a synthesizer deck. But the Wandering kind of like, for one, it triggers synthesizer, but two, it also can um, kind of like give you that free turn while also trying to build a giant board. I'm not sure. There's like so many different directions you go with this deck. Definitely like the more all-in version.
Yeah, yeah. That's in like I agree. This it seems like there's like a million different ways you can go with it. I feel like there's probably something that's there in one of the builds, just because the card synthesizer itself seems like ridiculously powerful.
Yeah.
But it's about finding like what is that build, and I honestly I have no idea myself. It's tough to say.
Yeah. I'll just keep checking MTGO results every day, hoping someone breaks it. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen eventually, I feel like.
I think so. That's generally how it works. It's like iteration. It's not like it's one person necessarily. It's the collective mind trying things out.
Mhm. So I'm very surprised Pikachu immediately just boarded out Spell Pierces. I feel like Spell Pierces are kinda one of the better cards, but maybe it just feels like, "Oh, I already have, Hexcatcher and Force Negation, Flame Venor, I already have, like, a million ways of killing it. Maybe I don't need the Spell Pierce."
Yeah, I agree with you. I mentioned that in the previous match as well that I felt like Spell Pierce just because of how lopsided the deck is when it has a synthesizer draw versus not. That Spell
Mhm.
Pierce to me felt like an important card. It might be awkward or kind of bad in a lot of games, but the time where you hit the synthesizer with it, I think makes it worth it.
Yeah, it's like if they're not casting Synthesizer, you're kind of happy.
Yeah. Is there anything that the artifact deck has access to that you think will
Dismember,
meaningfully?
what's he playing Dismember? I didn't see. Let me check his deck list real quick. Yeah, sadly, no Dismember. He does have Gemstone Caverns, but he's on the place, so it doesn't really work out. Yeah, he's Orvar for creativity. I mean, counterspells, more rebukes aren't that great. Unfortunately, there's not really anything here. The entire sideboard is kind of anti-amulet, anti-Yogg, which is neither of Nikachu's decks.
Right, and that makes sense for, like, just the general format as a whole, because you're not really
Mhm.
if you're building your sideboard with Merfolk in mind for a modern tournament, unless you specifically unless it's like a small field or something, it's you're probably not doing it
Yeah.
right.
Like, Pikachu mulligan and Seth mulligan to 5? Uh-oh. And this 5 is if he hits, like, a what does he need? Springleaf Drum or something? 'Cause I don't think there's any untapped blue artifacts. I guess he could just hit the Otawara or Island, 2 islands.
Yeah, I definitely needs help. Is possibly a decent hand with some help, but it's gonna be tough. With
Ah!
that not what you wanna see.
So unfortunate.
I
God,
was
it
gonna
just
say that, Nikachu's hand what didn't look very good either, but I think in situations where neither player's really doing anything, the side that's attacking with creatures is
oh, yeah. Got a lot of creatures in a vial.
yeah, not good creatures, but they are notably creatures that have power and toughness.
Mhm. Oh, man. Yeah, this is just a sad part of playing Affinity. Like, you require so many cards to hit a critical mass before you can start having broken turns that once you mulligan, unless the 5 cards you have are perfect, it's just kind of like, you don't really do too much.
Right. Yeah, that's kinda always yeah, like you were saying, that's kind of always been a huge flaw of, like, affinity style decks, and that's where I guess, like, the synthesizer card kind of fails a little bit because it needs that critical mass, whereas sometimes cards like I guess the normal stuff like cranial plating can be a little bit better because, you can still plating up something on 5 cards.
Oh my gosh. It's just the deck just teasing, just showing all the synthesizers, but they're all in hand.
Yeah, we were commenting on the last match that at one point in time you saw, like, all your synthesizers in a row. S
Oh, yeah, yeah, I
Same
had all 4, and I was like, "Can you just, just give me a couple turns here?
looks
Just a
like
couple turns."
looks like the same thing is happening to Saffron, which is a little bit of cruel irony.
Yeah. Is this just already lethal with the Merfolk? It might be.
Yeah, I think this might actually be lethal. Is kinda wild because that opening hand, I guess it really came together pretty well.
Alright. Well, quick match, but we all brought pretty aggressive decks, so